Hellickson here with Club Wealth, and man, am I excited today. We have got one of the world's greatest real estate agents here today with us on, and I'm not even joking. I know he's laughing a little bit, but here's the reality. In his second year of doing business, David Serpa in Temecula, California, or Murrieta, California, is literally he did $650,000 in commissions in his second year as a real estate agent. Unbelievable. He's running an awesome team. Everybody in Riverside County is floored that he came out of nowhere, took over the market, and everybody's trying to figure out how. So we're proud to have him as a coaching client. We're proud to have him on our interview today, and really excited to share with you a little bit about how he got where he's at, what he's done that's made the difference, and where he's going next. So David Serpa, welcome to the show.
Morning, Michael.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. So David.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Well, absolutely. Let's back way up. Before we even talk about your real estate business and how you've killed it with that, tell us about your history in the military and kind of what led you to real estate.
Sure. So I started, I was in the Marine Corps, and I went to Afghanistan, and I'm a combat veteran. I was a machine gunner, and I ended up kind of blowing out my ankle. And it was a gradual thing that happened. It didn't happen in combat or anything like that, but it definitely got worse. While I was over there, I had to get it fused. I had to get it reconstructed. It's no longer a functioning ankle. So I bought my house while I was in the Marine Corps, actually getting ready to go to Afghanistan. My wife was pregnant, and I went through a lot of bad real estate agents. And when I was recuperating from my surgery, my wife had told me, well, why don't you think about trying out real estate? I feel like it could use somebody that has been through what you've been through, and we're in a very military-friendly area. And so I jumped into real estate. I actually started taking my real estate courses while I was recuperating from my surgery, so that when I got out of the Marine Corps, within 3 months, I was a practicing real estate agent.
Man, that's awesome. So within 3 months of getting out of the Marine Corps. And what did you do? So first of all, how did you pick out the office you went to? I'm curious about that.
It was, so I wrote 7 different offices, and this was the only office that wrote me back. That was it.
Holy cow. Yeah. So real estate agents aren't the only sales prevention people out there. Apparently the brokers are too.
Yeah, and I got started with a pretty good office. It was a good place to start. They were right down the street from me, and the manager was the broker was a good guy and very pro-military, and really made me feel like it was attainable and that it was doable, and that it was something that I could not only do to subsidize my income while I was going to school, but something that I could make a career out of.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so you go, yes, I can't believe, I'm still in shock that 6 out of 7 of the brokers that you wrote to asking to potentially join their office didn't even write back to you or call you or anything. That's crazy to me. So the one guy that did, you end up going to his brokerage. And so how did you start off? What did he tell you to do to get going? What did you decide? What was, the first 2 months, what did they look like?
So the first 2 months, so I opened up 7 escrows in my second month. And it really was, I just worked. Anything that anybody told me to do, I did it. Whether it was door knocking expireds, door knocking FSBOs, holding open houses, I did everything. And some of it worked and some of it didn't work. But really at the end of the day, I ended up working open houses 10 to 6, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and people would joke around with me. They'd say, "Oh, well, why don't you bring a sleeping bag to the open house? Because you're going to be there for a long time." And so it was all very funny. But the way that I looked at it is, if a couple extra hours at the open house got me one more client, and that client made me $5,000 to $7,000, why wouldn't I double the length of my open house? So.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, so I'm looking at this. Just to recap, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 to 6, you held open houses every week.
Sure, and that's how I got probably 95% of my business in the first year that I got into real estate was working open houses. And I made more in my second month in real estate than I had made in the year prior and as a machine gunner in combat. So that was a huge jump forward for me. And then I guess, I looked at my junior college schedule and I said, maybe I don't want to do this.
Well, I think that speaks also to the sad state of compensation for our people in the armed forces. That's unfortunate that they're not making more than they are. They're getting shot at.
Yeah, but it's service. And I think that a lot of people that you'll talk to believe that it's service. And I never went in there to make a lot of money. I went in there to do my part. And so that's the way that I look at it.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you. That's awesome. Okay, so those 7 transactions in your second month I'm still blown away by that. You literally had 7 transactions in escrow in your second month. Of those, were 90% of those open house traffic, or where did they come from? Those 7.
Yeah, every single one of them was open house traffic, except for one was door knocking an expired listing, and that expired listing, he said, "Well, I actually don't want to sell this house, but I have a house right down the street that I'm thinking about selling." And so I basically followed him in his car. He said, do you have anything going on? Can you look at it right now? He said, I got about an hour and a half, but realistically I had a whole day. And so we drove down there and we took a look at the house, and we listed the house a couple weeks later and actually double-ended that house at the open house.
Fantastic.
And then the person that I double-ended that house with, they actually referred me to their mother, who wanted to buy a house down the street, but that wasn't until about 7 or 8 months later. But yeah, you can trace it all back. As long as you're hitting your pipeline effectively, you can typically look at one transaction, and hopefully it's become 3 more transactions. If it hasn't, you might be not hitting your network appropriately.
Oh, absolutely. No, I completely agree. We've got a blog post on the Club Wealth website about how to do open houses, and there's checklists in there. So for those of you that are watching this, if you haven't already taken a look at that blog, go through it, watch the video. There's about a 45-minute video on how to do open houses. But David, I want to hear from you what you have done on open houses and what you think makes them special, and what kind of traffic were you getting, and how did you increase traffic, all that stuff.
Yeah, so we didn't get a lot of traffic in our open houses. When you look at people that they say, oh, well, we work a mega open house, we get 120 people through our open house. That's incredible. Great for you. I'm not necessarily sure that that's the market that I'm in, but fantastic. Make a whole bunch of money. Now, we typically, if I got 3 to 5 people through an open house, that was good traffic for me. And but you bet out of those 3 to 5 people I'm converting at least one of them, hopefully 2 of them. And if they're buying a house, then I want to make them a client of mine. And so what I would do is, I didn't get too caught up in what a lot of people do with open houses, and that they look at it like, I bake brownies, I light candles, I give away food, and I'm like, people aren't going to an open house expecting brownies, and if they are, they're just looky-loos anyway. People are going expecting you to know what you're doing, expecting that they're going to find a resident expert, and that they're going to help them buy a house. A house. We don't need to get caught up in whether or not nobody ever bought a house because it smells like brownies. So I stripped it way down. I only pass out water at my open houses, but what I give more than anybody else in our marketplace is I give information. So what I would do is I would print off the 100 to 120 closest listings that were active, and I would tab the ones that were vacant, go direct, so that I could show them immediately, and I would arrange them in price so that if people, and I would just, every time that somebody wasn't there, I was going through getting familiar with that. And so if somebody walked in and I said, what is your price point? And they said under 300,000, I could say, we have 6 listings under 300,000. 2 of them are 3 bedrooms. 4 of them are 4 bedrooms, and they're all within 1.5 miles of this area. And I can actually show you 3 of these houses today after the open house. Are you available today at 4 o'clock? And then that way you make a client out of them immediately, because when you meet them at the open house, there's a tendency amongst real estate agents to say, oh, well, man, I got 4 new clients out of it. Well, they're not a client until you meet them outside of your open house. Until then, they're still a prospect. And so my goal with an open house was to make them a client immediately. So I wanted to have at least 1 showing scheduled after my open house every single day. That was my goal.
That's huge. And I love what you're doing. You've always come prepared with additional listings in the area in the same price range and different bedroom counts and bedroom, bathrooms. So you know that when you talk to them, you've got something to offer them rather than just, well,
Absolutely.
I can set you up on a search or, can we meet at my office and discuss a buyer agency agreement or whatever. So
Negative.
that's awesome. So how much pushback did you get from that? I mean, did you get much pushback, or was it just, people were like, wow, that's great. I'd love to go take a look.
So when people are out looking at open houses, they're really looking for you to provide value for them. And every single one of them will say, oh, I'm just looking. But they wouldn't have shown up in your open house if they weren't at least interested in buying a house. And so what I will do is I'll try to find the compelling reason and stick onto that. And so, I'll say, well, what made you consider moving in the first place? Oh, well, typically one or the other will let it slip. And a lot of times it's the wife. She'll say, oh, well, the house is a little bit too small for us. And so I'll just kind of hold on to that. And I'll say, okay, well, how big are you guys looking to go? Well, we're looking over 2,400 square feet. Okay, so you're realistically looking in this price point, but a couple things to consider, and this is where the value thing comes in, is when you start saying, well, there are some 2,400 square foot homes and above in this neighborhood, and they're also in this neighborhood. But if you look in these three neighborhoods here, those tax rates are about 1.3 to 1.4%, whereas in these areas they're 1.9 to 2.2%. So if I could save you $300 a month and get you in a house that's bigger than your current house, is that something that you guys might be interested in? And if you can establish that value, that's what people are looking for. And so that's what I try to do quickly.
I love what you're doing there with the tax rate, too, because it really sets you apart as an expert. I mean, I guarantee Absolutely. If they go to 20 open houses, you're the one guy that's talking tax rate. That's it. I mean,
I'm fanatic about tax rates. It's one of the first things that I did was because I wanted to show people that if they work with me, I can save them money. I know where all the schools are, but at the end of the day, people look at their pocketbook more than anything. And so a big thing that I do is I go through the tax rate. Say in a $400,000 home, let's say 1.3%, that's $5,200 annually in taxes. Or if you go to 2.2% for $400,000 home, that's $8,800 a month. So, or not $8,800 annually. And so you look at that, and what is that? The $2,600 for the year, which comes out to about $230, $240 a month. Now, if you can save that and have the same size house just by looking in a different neighborhood with a lower tax rate, wouldn't that be worth it? And so, yeah, absolutely. I hang on to tax rates big time. And being able to throw that kind of math out quickly is imperative.
I agree. I completely agree. Because, again, you're setting yourself apart as an expert. Instead of saying, hey, look how great I am, you're just doing your job. You're just sharing information, and they're going to naturally come to the conclusion that, wow, this guy knows his stuff. This guy's on it.
And I just realized that my math was wrong. I think it's actually $3,600 annually. But I felt like I needed to say that because this is recorded.
Here's the funny thing, though. Not only would nobody watching this have noticed that, I'll bet in the moment that the people you're sitting with probably wouldn't notice that either. So you're the only one that would notice that. But the point is, when you're talking statistics, be it tax rate or other things, I like tax rate. I think that's a really good angle to take. But regardless of statistics you're talking about, I think that it's really helpful, and I think that they see, okay, if this guy knows the numbers that well, he's the first person we've talked to, and the first real estate agent we've talked to that has the numbers down, and that's the kind of person they want to work with. And folks, I hope you're noticing something else about David right now that I think also adds to that, and that is, David, you're wearing a suit and a tie. I love that. Absolutely love that. And so let me ask you this. Were you wearing a suit and tie at your open houses?
Absolutely. So I'm in the Southern California marketplace, and one of the things that I noticed when I was going through buying a house was that so many people were wearing Hawaiian shirts and sandals. And I was like, you're getting ready to handle the biggest purchase of my lifetime, and you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sandals. I don't think that you're my agent. And especially the male agents. Female agents typically do a pretty good job down here being very professional. But male agents, I don't understand why they don't wear a suit. So that's one of the first things that I did was I went out and I bought a suit. I had never owned a suit in my lifetime. I actually took out a credit card and I bought 4 suits and 4 dress shirts. And that's what I wore. I wore a suit every single day, and I would just go to the office to work, and I'd put on a suit. And then people would say, "You don't have to wear a suit. You're just in here in the office." But the big difference between people who wear a suit and people that don't dress professionally is the way that your clients see you. And so if you start showing up, and I would see a client where maybe I'd shown them 80 homes or something like that, and I'd still show up wearing a suit. People that see you wearing a suit will respect your time because they understand that you're a professional and that you're not just a friend of theirs, that you're out looking at houses together. And so that was an important distinction for me.
Oh, it's huge. It's funny. I've got a client, and I won't say their name because I don't want to embarrass them, but I've got a client, and we've had this discussion many times in the past, and this person decided to show up because it was a referral from a friend, somebody they knew. Actually, it was a good friend of theirs that they went on this listing appointment. It was for, I think, just over $1 million house. So not really, really high price, but it was a $1 million house. And
I've never got $1 million listing.
And so he shows up to this thing in shorts. Yeah. And needless to say, he did not get the listing. And this, again, was a good friend of his, didn't get the listing, and later found out that it was because this person felt like, well, look, obviously you don't have a lot of respect for our relationship. You don't have respect for me as a seller, and I want to be treated like a professional. And, if you're not going to treat me with that level of respect, then I'll find somebody else to list my house.
Give us a name, Michael. I'm just kidding. Give us a name.
I wouldn't do that. Well, no, I'm not. No. that would be the end of that relationship, right? All right. So let me ask you this. So you got a lot of advice when you first got into selling real estate. You got tons of advice from everybody. Everybody wants to give you advice. There's more free advice out there than there is anything else. You can get on all the groups on Facebook and the forums, and you go to anything, you go anywhere, everybody's got advice for you. How did you sort the wheat from the chaff? How did you decide what advice to follow and what not to follow?
So when you're looking at getting advice, so I also when I was 18 years old, I got dumped by my girlfriend that I kind of moved out of the area for, and I started lifting weights. And when you're the scrawny guy in the gym, I used to be 6'3" and about 165 pounds. Everybody wants to give you advice, but you just look at what they're doing and how they're put together, and you decide, is that someone that I want to get advice from? And it's the same thing with real estate. A lot of the times you'll have people who are well-intentioned. They want to be able to help you out because you're new, but they have absolutely no idea what it means to be successful. And a lot of them don't necessarily need the money. There are people that, it's a second career for them, whatever it is. But regardless, you have to look at people's numbers and decide whether or not that's somebody that you want to give weight to their opinion. And so I tried everything. I tell everybody I took the machine gunner's approach to real estate, which is accuracy by volume. And if somebody said, well, hey, go out, door knock expireds, I door knocked expireds. If somebody said, go talk to FSBOs, I talked to FSBOs. If somebody said, work open houses. And I just did everything until I found out what works for me. And so that's really, that was the way that I went about it. Long story short, I just did everything, but I also looked at where the advice was coming from. And a lot of the people that were giving me advice, I just didn't take it because they were like a scrawny guy giving another scrawny guy lifting advice at the gym.
That's awesome. That's like never taking weight loss advice from a fat guy, right? That's why I don't ever give weight loss advice. That's funny. All right, man. Good for you. So, but it's funny because we actually, we're joking about it, but at the same time, it's so true. We talk about this with coaching. Why would, if I'm trying to learn how to make $1 million a year, how can I learn how to do that if I'm that have never made $150,000 a year? I mean,
yeah. What's wild is you find in every market that it's overly saturated by these real estate coaches that are just failed real estate agents.
That's right.
And there's a lot of truth to when people say when people can't do, they teach. There's two different types of coaches. There are people that have done very successfully, and now this is kind of either a second income for them, or they're going into a new arena, or you find people that just didn't do that well at real estate, and they don't want to be going on listing appointments. They don't want to be working on buyers, and so they're like, or I just really like people. And these are the people that you have to steer clear of when it comes time to pick a real estate coach. And I was very anti-coaching, and you know that, Michael. I was very anti-coaching. I didn't have a coach for my first 2 years in real estate, and it might have just been the dimples, but when I met Michael, it may have just been the dimples, Michael. But I definitely Michael just had, he'd been there, and so when you said that I averaged 100 transactions closed a month, I was like, okay, there's a guy that has been somewhere where I want to be. And sometimes you'll say, well, hey, look, if you do this, you're going to get more business. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know if I really want to do that. Maybe I'd be happy with 50 listings closed a month. Maybe I'd be happy.
That's one of the things I love about you, David, is, just because I give you advice on something doesn't mean you're going to do it my way. And I love that about you, because at the end of the day, it's your business, and you've got to do what jives with who you are, with your personality, with your value system, and all that kind of stuff. And you're not shy about saying, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Well, I'm going to do it this way. Cool. Awesome. All right. So let's talk about some other ideas, and we move on past it.
And I love that. You never want to lose what makes your business, but at the end of the day, I also know that where I want to go, I will get there much faster working with Club Wealth.
Well, yeah, and by the way, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But it really does come down to what you just said. You don't want to lose what makes it your business. You definitely want to continue to move forward. You want to stretch yourself. You want to get out of your comfort zone where you can. But the things that have gotten you where you are, a lot of what's gotten you where you are today is the ability of discernment. It's the power of discernment that you have to decide, yes, this makes sense for my business and this doesn't. And so regardless of where the advice comes from, that power of discernment is very, very important. And you've got to make sure that you're always trusting your gut and going with your gut on this. And is your gut going to be wrong once in a while? Sure, absolutely. But that's okay, because that's, again, that you just learn that at a deeper level at that point.
I trust my gut, and I trust dimples.
Oh my gosh, dude. Okay, moving on.
Look at you, Michael. Look at you. You're adorable, Michael.
Oh my gosh, how did we get sideways here? Okay, so man, I am turning bright red all of a sudden. That is freaking hilarious.
I know, I can see it through the computer. I'm married, just so that everybody knows. I'm a sucker for a good set of dimples.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. All right, so one of the things you and I talked about, I'm looking through my notes, I'm taking notes as we're doing this, and I'm looking at the notes I've got written here. One of the things you and I talked about before we started the video interview here was the whole magic pill theory. So talk to us about the whole magic pill theory, and are there some things out, gosh, if I just implement this, all of a sudden my business is going to explode?
Sure. And so I do some speaking every once in a while down here locally, down at the board, and through my broker to agents from other brokers. And I always tell them, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you the flyer that is going to make you successful. And about 6 people laugh out of however many people are there. About 6 people get that as a joke. Everyone else has been fed this line so many times that they're like, the flyer! He's going to give us the flyer. And there's no flyer. There's no secret pill. And I like to say that there's no path to success that doesn't lead through hard work. And so for me, there's a guy who's pretty successful here in my local market, but all he does is he cold calls. That's all he does. He cold calls and he cold calls and he cold calls. And he's going to find, and he's already found, that it's limiting him because he's not developing systems and passing them off. But we'll stick on topic. So, but what he's done is he just cold calls FSBOs and expireds and canceled, and then he door knocks for 4 hours. And he's done very well for himself. He's a younger guy like myself, but he's not. That's how he's gotten his business. And then you got somebody like me who got most of my business from holding open houses. He's never held an open house. I've never cold called somebody. So there's the two of us on opposite ends of the spectrum, both doing very well for ourselves, and we both have completely different approaches to business.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. But your point being that, look, it's not some magic. you got to work. It's everybody's heard the old cliche. I guess it's cliche, but it's really true. That success is missed by most because it comes in overalls, and
it looks like hard work.
That's right.
Yeah.
And people they don't want that. They don't want to put the overalls on and work hard. They want to just, it always cracks me up. Somebody will sign up for coaching, and this is never the case with our tier 2, 3s, and 4s. It's not often, but once in a while the case with our tier 1s that sign up. They'll sign up for coaching, and then in 2 months they want to quit coaching. And they say, well, I've been coaching with you guys for 2 months, and my business hasn't grown yet. Well, hello. I mean, it's like that's like planting a seed and saying, well, I don't have corn in my field yet after 2 months. It's like, look, you gotta water it, you gotta cultivate it, you gotta work the land, you gotta do something, you gotta engage.
I always tell my team that they are being currently punished or rewarded for the work that they did or did not do 3 months ago.
That's right.
And I was a kind of an anomaly in that I opened 7 escrows in my second month. That's not normal. But most people, the work that you're putting in now, you're going to pay for, or you're going to be rewarded in 3 months. And every single time that I've slowed down in my personal business, when my daughter was born, for example, or when I opened that 7 escrows in my second month, and I was like, I have to make sure these close. This is so much money. My pipeline dried up immediately, and I paid for it in 3 months. And so you really you have to have your eye on the long term in real estate. Don't ever get caught up in the water cooler, crap of where people say, can I say crap? I said crap. So when people say, you're not going to make any money your first year, you're not going to make any money. They should be saying, I didn't make any money my first year. For me, that wasn't an option. I had a wife and a kid. I just got to, for me to not make any money my first year, that's just insanity. But when people say, you're not going to make any money your first year, let them have that. That's theirs. That doesn't have to be yours. But that being said, understand the work that you're putting in now, it's either going to pay off or not pay off in 3 months.
That's right. No, completely agree. I love what you're saying too. I mean, it's not about whether it's worked or not worked for somebody else does not have to be your reality. You can choose to make yourself successful, and there's plenty out there. There's plenty of people. You look at, a lot of times immigrants to the United States, they come in here and they kill it. Why do they kill it?
Yeah.
Because they're not entitled. Because they don't have this entitlement mentality where everybody in the world is going to take care of me. No, they get in there and they work hard. That's what they do. Yeah. That's the American dream, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's why people
think that, lives become. I don't know what it is, but real estate really it attracts a couple of different types of people. But more so than anybody, it attracts people who want to work when they want to work, and want to be their own boss. And these are 2 myths that just should be shattered right from the get. You should never get into real estate because you want to work when you want to work. You have to work when your client wants you to work, but you also have to establish boundaries. The second, that I want to be my own boss. If you're doing real estate right, at any given time, you may have 35 bosses. And when they want to get a hold of you, when they want to talk, when they want you to work, you got to work. It's not up to you anymore.
That's right. No, you're 100% correct on that. I agree with you, man. It's funny when people they come into the business and they think, well, I'm going to have this easy schedule now, and I'm going to, I can do all this other stuff, and I'll squeeze real estate in where I can. Man, that's not going to happen, because there's guys like David Serpa out there who are living, breathing, eating, sleeping this stuff, and they're crushing it and making it happen. Now, there's 2 things that you just discussed that I want to make sure that we touch on. One is team. We'll come back to that in just a second. But the other is balance. Now, one of the things that you and I talked about when we first started coaching, and I'm going to call you out on a little bit because it's so hard for everybody. And we talk about the perfect daily schedule, and very importantly, as part of that, we talk about taking that 1 day off every week. Our kind of our core belief at Club Wealth is no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. And yet, most real estate agents are working 7 days a week. Now, they might not be working, 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. A lot are. But at the least, they're engaging in work-related activities 7 days a week. So one of the things you and I talked about, David, when you came in and began coaching with us was the need to take that 1 day a week off. So talk to me about that and how that was for you to get your head around it, and how it's been for you since you did it.
And what's interesting about these people, Michael, that work the 7 days a week and do the 12 hours a day, they say, oh, I'm always available to my clients. I'm always available. They look down on people that take a day off a week. They're like, oh, well, you're not really in it. It's like, no, I developed the systems and set up the expectations with my clients so that I can take time off when I need to take time off. And so I've been taking 5 to 7:30 off for a long time now. 5 to 7:30 every day. I have 2 little ones. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. We do bedtime, bath time, story time. And I tell my clients this immediately. At the listing presentation, at the open house when I first meet them, I tell them from the get, I take off my time from 5 to 7:30. I also tell them that I have an assistant that schedules all the showings so that if they have a call that comes in and I'm the only person answering the phone, they'd be in trouble. But they have my assistant who's scheduling the showings. But the other thing is when you told me to start taking Sunday off, or you said pick a day, I don't care what day it is, and start taking it off. I was I was like, okay, well, how much do I need Michael? But I know that I needed it. My wife needed it. My kids needed it. And it's a Monday morning right now for those of you watching this recorded. And it's 8 o'clock in the morning when we started this phone call. I started work at 5:15, which is when I start work every morning. But when I turn on my phone Monday morning, it sounds like a pinball machine. But it was good for me. I've started doing things like taking my whole family to the beach or going out to the river, or my phone just it's not always there. And but I've also developed systems to support that. But even by yourself, even if you are at the very beginning of your career, this is something that you can do. You just have to establish the guidelines. Now, as a buyer's agent or somebody that works with buyers, I suggest doing that during the week because it's just a different type of schedule. Whereas if you work primarily with listings, that's something that you could do during the weekend because escrow and banks are closed anyway. But it's important to find that balance. And I didn't realize just how important it was until I was looking back at the last 2 years and thinking, I have not taken a day off in over 2 years. I've got to get back to not only just my family, but to myself a little bit. And I'm getting fat, Michael. I'm getting fat in a hurry. I left the Marine Corps and I just jumped into real estate and I'm getting fat and I'm getting pale. And so next step is going to be taking a little bit of time off in the morning and working out a little bit.
There you go.
So I can stop looking at myself at an up angle in this webcam and stop feeling so self-conscious.
I love it. Yeah. Now some would say, yeah, but your bank account's getting fat too, and that's all great, and it's true, it is. But
this is true.
But you hit the nail on the head. Where you've missed a lot of quality opportunities to spend time with your family over the last couple of years.
You don't get that back.
Nope, you don't. And so, and that was, it's funny. One thing I heard in what you were just saying was, are you literally not taking your phone with you on that day at sometimes, or are you shutting it off?
Absolutely not. I wake up. So Saturday night at about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, I put it in my bedside drawer, and I leave it there until Monday morning.
Whoa, that is right. I'll tell you right now, a bunch of agents just passed out on the floor as you said that just now. They are literally laying on the floor.
Wake up! I'm not kidding. So I do. It's Saturday night, about 10, 11 o'clock at night, I put it in my bedside drawer, and I don't take it out again until Monday morning. And the reason why is because it is physically impossible for me to have my phone or a computer and not work. Why? Because when I'm on Facebook, I'm working. People are getting a hold of me, or my clients. A lot of my clients friend me on Facebook. I'm very public. A lot of people know me. I'm very known in the community. So I get a lot of prospective clients that friend me. And if they see me posting on Facebook, but they know that my phone's off, that might also rub some people the wrong way. So I jumped in 100%. My kid's first sentence that was 4 words was "My dad, no tie," and it got every day when I would go and I'd put on my tie, he'd be like, "My dad, no tie. My dad, no tie." And now he'll say, "Dad, you're forgetting this," and I'll hold up his dinosaur when I'm getting ready to leave. "You're forgetting this. You're forgetting you need a car." And so it affects your family negatively in a different way. I mean, when you and I were growing up, Michael, and granted, my dad wasn't really around, but 9 to 5, your dad leaves at 8 o'clock in the morning and comes back at 6, and you're excited to see him, and you run in, and you just know that you're not going to see him. But when he's home, he's home. Whereas with us, just because we're home does not necessarily mean that we're mentally present. And so there's a huge difference between being home and being present. And that's really what taking off Sundays is made me realize.
Yeah, I'm super proud of you too. Putting that phone like that. I mean, that's I gotta tell you, I haven't been doing that, and I need to. I catch myself. I get up, if I get up in the morning before my kids are up on Sunday morning, I'll catch myself, on Facebook or whatever. And sometimes at night, on Sunday night when they've gone to bed, I'm on Facebook, and I gotta quit that. I gotta take my own advice. I gotta swallow my own pill here. But
and the thing is, it's not just about our kids. It's about our wives. It's about us. And right. There's a tendency in for us in our culture, like my wife steps out of the room to go put one of the kids back to bed, and I take out the phone and I look at it, and I'm trying to get done as much work as I can, and I have to get comfortable being in my own head occasionally, and occasionally, not all the time, but and that's something that I've started taking to heart too.
Good for you, man. That's huge. All right, well, we're running out of time. We've got about 5-10 minutes left here. I just want to make sure that we get through a lot of this stuff. So first of all, awesome stuff. I hope you guys have learned something so far from today. I'm sure you have. I know I have. The phone in the drawer thing, just that's a mind blow. All right, so what I want to talk about next is building a team. So you went from being the Lone Ranger to having a world-class team. Literally, I mean, your team is the envy of many teams across the country right now. Tell us about your team. Tell us why it's different, and tell us how you built it to begin with. What was your first hire? What was your second hire? How did you get them to come onto your team? All that good stuff.
So I started my team with a fellow Marine, actually. His name's Rob Morrow. And Rob, his wife was an escrow assistant. And so I was actually introduced to Rob through her. And she said, hey, can you talk to my husband? He's thinking about quitting real estate. He's not really really too into it. But I think he can be really good at it. And Rob and I hit it off. Like, I love Rob. I just love the guy. And Rob has done a tremendous amount for me and my team and me and my personal life. Like, it's having another Marine with me is just awesome. And he's very talented, very professional. He's a good guy. We didn't see 100% eye to eye in the beginning, but as Rob would tell you, he just kept had to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit. But what I did was I found a number of agents that were not as successful as they could be. Most of the agents on my team had been working in real estate longer than I had, but had never closed anything or had just closed a deal or two. And so Jennifer Moore, for example, who was the third person to join my team. We lost a couple people along the way, but she's the third permanent person besides myself and Rob. And she hadn't closed an escrow for, I think, a year and a half. And then she joined my team, and she did pretty well last year. But this year, right this moment, she has 9 in escrow, and she's hopefully going to be opening up a 10th right now. Rob went from only closing 1 escrow in 2014 to doing $5.3 million in 2015, and then last month alone he closed $2.2 million last month. 7 escrows.
That's huge.
And so you've got Jamie and Davida and Damien, and they're all doing better with us. And I think that the big thing is finding the right people, finding the people who have the ability to be great agents that are already great people, and then training them and cultivating their careers so that they're strong, independent agents. And so that's what I was looking for. I don't take new agents on my team. If somebody's right off the gate, they don't understand what you're giving them. And so that's why I kept it to agents that had been at it for a little while longer but hadn't necessarily been that successful. I tried to do it a couple of times with new agents, and they just, the second that they start closing a couple of escrows, they kind of get a little bit uppity. They start thinking that they can do it without you, and then you just kind of got to get rid of them. And so yeah, that's how I approach team building.
That's huge. One of the things you talked about that I think is really important, and I hope people caught on to, is that it's not about hiring people that have all the skills and all the talent already. It's about hiring people that have the right potential. They've got the right attitude. I would say, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I have a feeling what you're really saying is, look, these are people that had the right attitude, and I took people that have the right attitude, and they were able to fit into our team, and they were able to take that attitude with the skills and the systems and the processes that we taught them, and we made them, we made accessible to them. All of a sudden now they were able to take their already great talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you take somebody like Davida Parker, or Jamie Burlisle or Damian Simon, like all these people that are on my team, they already were good people with great work ethics. They just didn't have anybody pointing them in the right direction. And so, now they're all awesome. Now they're all awesome. So
that's huge. That's awesome. Okay, so let me ask this. So what is it that makes your team different than other teams? Because there's lots of teams out there. So why would somebody want to be a part of the David Serpa team instead of the 100 other teams they could join?
Because my team actually does business. No, I'm just kidding. So you get a lot of people that start teams that have no business starting a team. They don't understand it. They think, oh, well, the teams are successful now. The Team Ferry just came out and said that teams are the future. And what is it? What was it? Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry just came out with this video talking about how teams are the future of real estate. It's like,
you just now figured that out?
We're here. The rest of us have been here for a little while, but it's nothing against him. I know that he's great for certain people or whatever. Not my business model, and I probably shouldn't be blasting other coaches like on this video. But anyway,
I'm glad you said it. I can't.
We've already arrived, but the difference is that with my team, like you're getting people that have been personally trained by me, and again, I already was doing business before I started a team. You get people that start teams that are doing 15 transactions a year, and it's like, it might be time to figure out how to make those 15 transactions 30 before adding a team. And the only reason why you should ever start a team is if you have business falling off because you cannot get to it. That's when it's time to start adding a team. Until then, you have to get more business.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. It's funny because so many people think, well, I'm going to make a bunch of money, I'm just going to go start a team. And, it's not that simple. You got to have something to give first and foremost. You've got to have
people think, well, this is my way out. This is, if I start a team, then I won't have to work as much. It's like, I work way more now than I ever did on my own. And it's because you're not only worrying about your own career anymore. Now you're worrying about 6, 7, 8 other people's careers.
Well, and here's the thing, it's funny. I was just thinking about that this morning. I was thinking about how, why is it? Why should most people, what's the number one reason to start a team? And besides what you just said, and I completely agree with what you just said, besides the whole, I've got stuff falling through the cracks and I've got to pick up that stuff that, those extra transactions that are falling on the floor. In addition to that, one of the biggest reasons is because, David, I know that you're more likely to let yourself down than you are to let the people around you down.
Absolutely.
You'll go to the mat for the people on your team. You'll work that extra hour. You'll make that extra phone call. You'll do whatever it takes to make sure your team is successful, even at times where you may not do that for yourself. True or false?
Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt. Yeah, it's I start thinking about things that I need to do to start making my team recession-proof. I start thinking, because every single one of them, they have a family. They have a family to feed. It's not just about me. And so I'm fanatic about my team, and I want them to succeed. And not only do I want them to succeed, I take it personally if they don't. And so, my battery is extraordinarily low on my computer. And so I'm trying to get my other computer fired up in the event that we need to keep talking. But, I told you that I forgot to bring my charger with me today, so.
No problem. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I don't want to run the risk of your computer dying in the middle of our interview. So at the end of the day, what I'm hearing from you is a couple of things, and I'd like to hear your synopsis. But I'm hearing that, number one, there is no magic pill. There's no substitute for work. Get out there and work. Number two, don't let anybody tell you can't succeed, because you can. regardless of what they've done. Number three, you've got to take time for yourself. You've got to create that balance, that work-life balance, and it's more than just cliche. For you, it's I'm stuffing my phone in a drawer from Saturday night until Monday morning, and I'm really living the deal. And number four, it's build a team the right way for the right reasons, and the success will come. Is that are those? I mean, those are
sure. Commit. So when you talk about there not being any path to success, or like you have to work hard. Work hard. If you're going to take a day off, take a day off. If you're going to commit to coaching, commit to coaching. You have to commit. And if you're not going to commit, find another job. Find a real job. Just stop working in real estate. Yeah. If you're going to commit, you will make a lot of money in this business. There's so much money to be made, and if you just get a small percentage of it, you'll be extraordinarily successful. Just commit.
Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. Well, David, I really appreciate you taking the time with us today. Everybody, this is Michael Hellickson with Club Wealth. We've been interviewing David Serpa of the Serpa team. And are you technically, you're in Marietta, right?
I am in Marietta.
Technically, you're in Marietta. Okay, but at the end of the day, the #1 real estate agent in Riverside County, California. So, and that's pretty awesome. #1 real estate agent in the entire county. So thank you so much for taking the number 2. What do you mean you're number 2?
I'm number 2.
That's changing, man. We're being #1. Oh, there it goes. His computer just died. Knew that was going to happen. All right. So, bottom line, David Serpa is a rock star. I really appreciate David taking the time to be with us today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this rock star interview, this world-class agent interview with David Serpa of the Serpa team in Marietta, California. So, everybody have an awesome day. And, hey, check out our other blog posts and our other interviews on our website at clubwealth.com. Don't forget about the blog at clubwealth.com/blog. Lots of great information there. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And remember, you are world class.